Now don't get me wrong, having the ability to record sound directly to the camera with something like the video mic is supremely helpful, but the quality is not necessarily going to be great. The EOS-M is a stills camera that shoots great video almost by accident. Audio doesn't even rise to the level of an afterthought, especially not to Canon engineers. For creating great audio in the studio or in the field, you want gear that is dedicated to audio, like the Zoom H1 recorder. Let's take a look. Now, it may look like a very ambitious remote control, but trust me, this thing is actually a compact but very powerful audio recorder. It's got a built-in stereo microphone as well as a 3.5mm jack that you can use to plug into an external microphone like the Rode video mic or just about any other audio device you can imagine. It's this kind of flexibility that makes the H1 a hit with concert bootleggers. It's easy to plug the H1 into the mixing board if the sound guy will let you, and a piece of cake to record from the floor if he won't. And next up are your headphones. Now, these aren't Beats by Dre, they won't boost your bass, and they won't make your music sound good. If you listen to MP3s, they'll probably make your music sound worse. Well, that's because they're a special type of headphone called a studio monitor. They deliver the most neutral sound possible so you can actually hear exactly what you're recording. You plug these into the left side of the recorder. Now you also get a micro SD card with at least 2 GB of storage and an adapter that lets you plug the micro SD card directly into any of the Macs in the lab. They're small, they're easy to lose. Don't lose them. The Zoom H1 works on one normal run-of-the-mill AA battery. You just flip the H1 over, slide the door back, and pop the battery out to replace it if your unit happens to die. Before your big recording session, it's a great idea to switch on the recorder and check out the remaining battery on the LCD screen. You should also make sure that your micro SD card is actually in the recorder before you start recording. Just turn the H1 on its other side, use your longest fingernail to pry open the flap to access the card. When you need to take it out, just give it a gentle tap with your nail and it should pop out. The H1 doesn't have a power button, it's got a power slider. And it's not just because buttons are old-fashioned either, it's so your recorder doesn't turn on accidentally in your bag and start draining your batteries. To turn on the H1, just slide and hold until the H1 says hello. Now, tons of people around the university use these recorders, which is why the first time you power up the H1, you should definitely format your card and make sure it's empty before you start. You format the card when you turn it on. Just hold down the trash can delete button at the same time you slide the power on, and you'll be given the option to format the card. Just hit the big red record button on the front to finish up. By the way, this is a great time to plug in your headphones. There's a headphone symbol right next to the jack on the side of the recorder. Now I know it probably goes without saying, but please always use headphones when you're recording. The levels only tell part of the story. You need to listen if you want to hear exactly what it is you're getting. While we're talking about jacks, we should mention that on the opposite side of the H1 from the headphone jack, there's a second 3.5mm jack. And this is where you plug in an external microphone like the Rode video mic or a lavalier mic, or even some other external audio source like a phone or a mixing board. The H1 is a pretty straightforward device, but there are a few switches on the back that you should get to know. The recording format switch gives you the choice of recording compressed audio in MP3 format or recording uncompressed WAV or WAV files. Well, guess which one is better? Now, MP3 has its place, like if you're recording a congressional filibuster, an academic conference, or any other event whose duration can be measured in days. But WAV is a much better choice. With uncompressed audio, what you hear on your headphones is exactly what's being recorded on your card. Now, by the way, you can see how much recording time you have left on the LCD. Whichever format you do choose, however, it's always a good idea to record at the highest quality possible. Look at the LCD screen. If you've chosen MP3, you'll see a single number anywhere from 48 to 320. You can use the fast forward button on the side of the H1 to set this number, the bit rate, to 320. When you do, the LCD screen will show you how much audio will fit on your card. And if you've chosen WAV files, you'll see two numbers separated by a slash. This is the sample rate and the bit depth. The numbers go from 4416 to 9624. Now again, use the fast forward button to set the recorder as high as it will go. On my card, the WAV format at 9624 will give me almost 2 hours of recording time, while the MP3 format will give me nearly 25 hours. Now we're ready to get down to business. If you look at the front of the LCD, you're going to see a bunch of lines going up and down. This is your audio meter. It's measured in decibels, and since we're talking about digital audio, the highest your level can get is actually 0. Try speaking into the microphone and watch the numbers while listening on the headphones. When you're recording dialogue or voiceover narration or even Foley or sound effects for a movie, you should try to stay between -20 and -6. The louder, the better. Now there are 3 ways to control your levels. Let's take a look. The first way to control your levels is the automatic level switch on the back of the H1. Flip it and the recorder itself will raise the volume when it gets soft and lower the volume when it gets loud. This can be useful in situations where the environment is loud to begin with and the levels are chaotic, events like a political protest or a soccer match. But it's not a great way to control levels when the environment is relatively quiet, because the recorder may try to boost the level of the audio when speakers pause between words and sentences. This can make your track a lot noisier than it needs to be. I'm going to repeat what I just said using auto level, just so you can hear the difference. This can be useful in situations where the environment is loud to begin with and the levels are chaotic, events like a political protest or a soccer match. A much better alternative is to set the automatic level switch to off and use the input level buttons on the side of the H1 to manually adjust the level until your speaker's voice is registering -12 to -6 decibels. Just remember, the higher you set the level, the more noise you'll hear on your track. The last and best option is to use a low level setting, 50 or below, and move the microphone closer to or further from the speaker until his or her voice registers -12 to -6 decibels. This will give you the cleanest audio track possible. One thing to watch out for when you're getting ready to record is the little red light on the front of the H1. Before you press record, the red light comes on when your audio level goes above 0 decibels. Audio folks call this peaking or clipping. Since your recorder can't actually record signals above 0 decibels, you can be sure that your audio will be distorted if the little red light turns on. It's difficult and time-consuming to fix clipped audio in post-production, and the results are never as good as a recording that doesn't clip. So if you see the little red light, you should definitely adjust your levels before hitting record. Now, after you hit record, the light stays on to let you know that you're recording, but it will flash if it detects peaking. So if you see the light flash, you are strongly advised to do another take. And the last switch on the back of the H1 is the low cut filter. It cuts out low frequencies in your audio. If you find yourself in a room with an air conditioner or a refrigerator, if you're outside on a windy day, well then you should probably flip on the low cut filter. Listen to the results in your headphones. If you don't need to use the low cut filter, however, then don't use it. And that's about it for the Zoom H1. You start recording using the giant record button on the front, and then you stop recording using the exact same giant record button on the front. Nice and easy. Now always remember to turn the recorder off before you take out the card. You can turn off the H1 by holding the power slider down until the recorder says goodbye. It's a very friendly recorder. When you're finished with your recording session, it's time to pack up the recorder. Please do not wrap the headphone cable around the headphones. It gets tangled up and over time it'll degrade the audio quality. Instead, fold up your headphones and then open the bag and gently lower the cable into it. Place the headphones on top of the cable like this. Then place the H1 between the ear cups. This keeps our cable straight and even offers a little protection to the audio recorder. And now that you've got some gorgeous video and crisp, clean audio, let's take a quick look at putting it all together in Final Cut Pro 10.